Welcome to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Hey, that's me. Hi, and welcome to Positive Talk. Our show features the best positive stories and people from around the globe as we endeavor to answer the universal question of why am I here and what is my purpose? Understanding that can change everything, and knowing your greatness is fundamental to living your best life. So join us right now as together we work to create the adventure of our lifetime. And welcome to the show, everybody. We've got a great show for you today, and the gentleman that we have, and he's got a website that I want you to reference right off the top because I think it's important. And the name of his website is warriorsage.com. And we're talking with Satyen Raja, and he is the Warrior Sage. Satyen, it's great to see you. How are you?
Kevin, thanks for a great introduction and your great energy. Looking forward to drop in with you and share to the good peeps who are listening.
Well, you know, it's really cool because you've been doing this a little bit longer than I've been doing radio. I started in 2002, and you've been doing a Warrior Sage since 1999, way back when.
1999 is when we launched. And it's been an ever-evolving expansion through the years. We've had over 100,000 live students, leaders have come through our live events, and it's been extraordinary, the journey, and it continues to grow in the world. So very, very happy.
Explain where Warrior Sage came from. I know what Sage is and I know what Warrior is, but I haven't seen them together so much. And so is it like a wise warrior?
Correct. Peaceful warrior, wise warrior, a spiritually oriented warrior, a warrior with their heart open. So my main work is guiding leaders, business leaders, CEOs, founders of companies, organizations. I work with investors and I work with their companies to expand them, but from the inside out, not just the outside dimension, but the team coherence, our inner leadership, our inner awakening, our inner attunement. So for me, the warrior represents that part within us, which is strong, doesn't give up, is willing to cross the finish line. We all know that warrior energy within us. But the sage is the wisdom within us, is the spiritual attunement with us. It's the more feminine side, and the warrior is the more masculine. When we have both of these awakened and cultivated as a leader, things become unstoppable, because now that force of masculine, feminine, warrior, and sage are lit up really strong.
Well, and I really love the work that you do, because not only are you working with leaders, you are working with them to change the culture of what they are leading so that it affects people that are around them too. Have you found that to be true?
As a leader, who we are, not just what we do, but who we are is the main attractor force of people's trust. If we're an asshole, if we're being closed down, if we're commanding and we're not connecting to our teams, if we're in our ego, we're going to push away our teams. We're not going to get them to work at their optimal capacity. Who wants to? But if we open up within ourselves and we recognize who I'm being, my attitude, my mindset, how I greet people, how I take care of my teams, what I value, and we shore that up, we bring that into deep alignment with our own inner self, our teams, our values, then naturally people want to trust us. Naturally, people want to follow us. Naturally, investors want to invest in us. Why? Because who we're being, our attitude, our mindset, our disposition is everything. It's literally everything in leadership. And then our skill sets come out of that.
Because your skill sets are less than if your leadership skills are not more than. Does that make sense?
Really well put, Kevin. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Because it is so important that a leader. So let me ask you, when somebody comes to you and they say, I want to learn how to be a better leader, what is the conversation that you have with them?
Well, first of all, I let them know that if they want to be a leader, they're going to have to challenge their mindset. They're going to have to challenge any complacency. They're going to have to challenge ways that they've been doing things so that they can be open to more. Then what I like to do is I like to do a deep dive diagnostic session. I like to do an assessment session where I take a look at dimensions of their life, their faith, their internal alignment, their family dynamics, their fitness dynamics, how much fun they're having in life. Faith, family, finance, fitness, and fun is my wheel of life, inspired by one of my mentors, Kevin Nations. And this, cultivating that whole aspect, I want to really take a look at what's going on in all of this. And then I like to take a look at what's the shadow side. What's the stuff that you aren't talking about? A lot of times it's got to do with relationships, it's got to do with health, it's got to do with insecurities, limitations in our mindset, old traumas. And then once we get clear on what the obstacles are to the next dimension of our expansion, then I like to get to work, go right into the stuff, learn to open it, transform it, get aligned, get healed, so that we can really grow strong. You know?
There has to be a level of healing and self-forgiveness, doesn't there, in order for you to rise above? Because we all have trauma. We all had something in our lives that affected us greatly and stuff, and we remember those things, or we don't, but it still affects us, either whether we remember them or not, because it comes up in how we act and the things that we do and what triggers us and what stories we tell ourselves and stuff. Is that kind of, you work through that and then you help them learn to not believe the stories that we told ourselves, because most of the time they're not true anyway?
You said it really beautifully, Kevin. You're a very wise man. I can sense, I can see. This is, not only do we find and uncover those obstacle patterns within ourselves, we heal them, we transform them. We don't want to just learn how to set them aside and work over them, which is what a lot of people do. Or many of us are victims to these unconscious prisons. You know, we've seen the story of, if you take a baby elephant and you put a little rope around its leg, it can't move. But as it gets older, it still thinks that rope has power over it. And when it's a big full-grown animal, big full-grown elephant, it still is trapped in its mind by a small little rope around its foot, which it can break off in a moment. Why does that happen? Well, imagine if that's an elephant, how many of those ropes that are no longer holding us back are still holding us back, that we're not even aware of? It's gone back, it's faded in the background. As a leader, it's imperative to want to know what those are, to want to heal those, to want to transform them, because most guys don't even understand, most leaders don't even get how much energy is trapped in all that stuff. And when that energy is untrapped, you get a new lease on life. You go, wow, I'm able to do far more than I'm able to do. I'm able to go from mule, and here's the magic, going from mule to magician. The mule is working hard, pushing hard, striving it, crushing it, exhausting themselves out, burning themselves out, burning their teams out. That's mule mindset. And if we've got companies, organizations, and leaders that are fostering more and more and more of that, no wonder we have huge attritions in our teams, no big turnover, no wonder, productivity, no wonder profits are capped. But once we uncap ourselves, we uncap our ROI. That's tangible. It's really amazing to see.
Yeah, and I've thought about this a great deal, and I've looked at a lot of P&Ls, and I'm convinced that they're missing one line on their company P&L, and that is the actual dollar effect of turnover. Because if your team is not growing together and they aren't feeling energized by the work that they're doing, and so people leave, that retards the growth of the company, and it actually can take a promising company into a company that is floundering because they're keeping to replace people and to find the new things rather than to encourage and uplift and to make their team stronger. Is that a thing?
You nailed it, Kevin. You nailed it. 3 things that I've identified that grow businesses in a successful way. Number one, the timing of the product, the offering. That's obvious. Okay, if it's ahead of its time, like a Betamax, there might be other things out there, but it's ahead of time, it's not going to take off. Number two is correct funding. You need proper funding so that you're not scrambling, that you're growing well, that you have that solidity of funding base. Number three, this is the hidden one that most people put the least amount of energy on. They put the least amount of investment on, but it's the most powerful. It ramps up everything else. And that's your team dynamics, your team culture, the team coherence, the team camaraderie, the team communication, that sense of we're all for one and one for all. Very few companies have that. In our analysis of many companies through the years that we've served, when we've come in and we do a full-on analysis and assessment, we haven't found any company where the collective team is operating more than 30% of their, that drop, that when I saw this and we went deep into the forensics of this over the years, my jaw dropped. I was like, if the company's doing this, wherever they're doing at 30%, imagine if it went to 50, 70, 80, imagine 90%. It might be imperfect to have 100%, everyone perfect. That's unrealistic. But if we could double that, we double our business. We double the flow state. We double our impact. We double our reach. And we have even more stronger aligned teams that cross the finish line. They're not just trying to jump out early. They care. They put their heart and soul in what they do. This is all on the hands, all on the shoulders, all on the impeccability and cultivation of us as leaders. All of that.
You know, and I've been thinking a lot about a particular phrase that I think plays a role in this as well, and that is the concept of self-sabotage. Would you kindly explain your thoughts on self-sabotage and why we do it, why we cap ourselves, and how we can uncap that so that we can live the potential and to get rid of the idea of, oh, I can't do it because and literally sabotage the company, sabotage their personal growth.
What you just shared about is costing companies all around the world billions and billions of dollars, maybe trillions. And in our own local small companies, larger companies, mid-size, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable, the cost of this. Self-sabotage, how it starts, from my experience, is a decision that was made underneath a situation in which you felt defeated. I'll give you a little example in my case. When I was a younger fellow, very shy of girls, I remember I mustered up all my courage in junior high to ask Kathy White for a date. Kathy was there. She sort of smiled, but her friends were near her and they started chuckling. They started looking at me like, oh, what a goofball. And I felt so dejected. I felt so rejected. And when I made the imprint in that moment, I says, I like girls. I'm going to move towards them and ask for a date. But in the moment I got ridiculed, I went, oh, girls are dangerous. Girls aren't going to treat you well. So you've got one energy and you're going towards, and another one saying, hold off, danger, and then you go the other way. All these unconscious patterns are in us, and that's self-sabotage. We're moving towards something we think is a valid goal that we want to achieve, an outcome that we want to have, and then some part within us that got defeated somewhere way back in our early youth, somewhere in our lives, in our relationship, that rears its ugly head and says, stop, hold on, danger, danger, don't go forward, and sabotages. We got to get to the root of these decisions we made underneath stressful circumstances that don't serve us anymore. Maybe they served us back then, but they're outdated now. So we need a new way. And so, yes, that's the type of work I do. I like to go dive deep into what are the areas that we're self-sabotaging ourselves. We go forensically into them. And I have a series of psycho-emotional spiritual processes that excavate those directly. You don't have to spend days, weeks, months at a therapist's office. It's done in a few minutes. And when you get to that self-sabotage and you unload it and you open it, it actually has a gift for you. All that suspended, suppressed energy and self-sabotage gets released, and all of a sudden your caps come off, your ingenuity, your creativity, your inspiration comes back online.
And those are all the things that you need to take your business or your personal life, for that matter, into a place that maybe it's never been because you have felt limited or you couldn't do it. Or that voice that you hear that remarkably sounds like your mother says, no, you can't do that and stuff. And we need to take a break. And when we come back, Satyen, I want to talk about you and how you got to be the man that you are today, because I know that there was a process involved. You weren't just necessarily born this way. You developed it through trial and error and experiences and all the things in life. So we will be right back. It's just 45 seconds, folks. So don't go away, and we'll be right back with the Warrior Sage, and we'll be right back.
You became a real estate agent for freedom, success, and real momentum. So why are you still stuck waiting for closings to save you? I'm Ophir Adar, founder of Real Momentum, and I help agents like you become seven-figure earners. My first client that I coached, brand new agent, made $250,000 back in 2006. What's the secret? You feed your white wolf. That's the part of you that's bold and unstoppable and a closer and able to build rapport quickly. So click Get Listings at Real Momentum and let's unleash your real estate potential.
And welcome back to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Rochelle is at the moment not well, so we're handling this. But Satyen Raja, right?
You got it. Well said.
Awesome. And you are the Warrior Sage, and you have a company called the Warrior Sage, and it's warriorsage.com. Go there and find out all about what they do. But I sense, young man, that there was a journey that you had to take personally in order to become the man that you are today and develop the concepts and the company that you have that helps other people, leaders, and other companies change their culture so that they can rise above who they think they can be to who they actually can be. So tell us your story a little bit, if you wouldn't mind.
Very gracious of you, Kevin. Born in Uganda of East Indian parents, moved to England for a little bit and then moved to Canada when I was a young fellow. And when I was a young fellow, I was very inspired by martial arts, Kung Fu specifically. And I found a Kung Fu master as a young fellow at 12. And I started studying deeply this art of Shaolin Kung Fu, which is the path of the warrior sage, becoming a strong warrior and becoming a noble sage who serves society. So my mentors, my teachers, my Kung Fu masters, and the head instructors, they deeply infused into me this ethos of caring for others, being a man of service, raising society, utilizing your power as a man for good, not for destruction, but for building a better life for self, for family, and for the world. So that was my roots. That then led me into many healing arts. I dove deep into all the different esoteric and subtle healing arts of acupuncture, Chinese herbal medicine, and shiatsu therapy. That led me into many other modalities. So I've been studying, I've been deeply impassioned about the human consciousness, how we can grow ourselves as the ultimate human we can be. I'm still on this path. There's no end. I love to go around the world. I love to study with different masters and teachers, which I've been doing now for 45 years, drawing on the best of warriorship, tantra, sacred relationship, shamanism, how to create our reality, the metaphysics of reality, and also deeply what self-realization, self-awakening is. If we look at the hierarchy of Maslow's needs, the top is self-actualization. And so for me, we need to grow the whole aspect of our being. So that's been my path. I'm married with my beautiful wife, Suzanne. We co-lead our events together. And we have a stellar organization and team that we bring together investors and positive impact companies and help support them each other in creating a better world and a better support system that's for profit, purpose, and the people. So that's been my journey up to this date in a nutshell.
So when you were a 12-year-old boy and you turned on the TV, you didn't happen to catch a show by the name of Kung Fu, did you?
Absolutely, with David Carradine and the martial arts. When we look back at today, as a young boy, it was like, wow. But when I look at it back today, the martial arts are a little hokey. But the wisdom, the profound wisdom, and the character portrayed by the Shaolin monk, Kwai Chan Caine, played by David Carradine, is still to this day, in my opinion, the most profound TV show ever. I've learned so many, as a young fellow, I learned so many moral lessons, so many lessons in how to hold peace in the midst of challenge, how to remain calm underneath people trying to attack you, call you names, be racist with you. That show was a brilliant introduction to Eastern wisdom, especially at that time of era. And it's still an inspiration to me today. And then that led me to Bruce Lee, of course, and all the other great masters.
Yeah, but that particular show was so unique at the time that, and the message that it was portraying at the time with the Shaolin priests and their message of peace and love and strength, and to protect those who cannot protect themselves, and all of the things that was really, this was back in the 70s. That was really unique, and nobody had ever done anything like that, to my knowledge, until, and it became a big deal.
And to this day, in my opinion, there's still no show as deep as that ever. Has not even come close to it. To me, it's the richest wisdom transmission from the West to a modern audience, and it's still alive. In fact, my son, who's in his 20s, he's also a martial artist. Dad, I don't want to watch your movies. You know, my movies are different age and different time than his, right? He likes to watch the action. Like, okay, listen, just bear with me. I know it's from the 70s, but I want you to know what influenced me. And okay, all right. So he watched an episode, and then a 2, and then 3. Dad, this is deep. This is like, wow, I'm understand. This is not a kung fu show on kung fu fighting. This is a show on living a life of deeper wisdom and philosophy. And so if you haven't had a chance, it's available. You can get it online. It's all over the place. Kung Fu with David Carradine. The first season, it's much deeper. The second one's a little hokey. They revived it in the 90s, I believe. I'm not sure, or 90s or 2000. But it was nothing like the original series. So go watch it and be moved.
Yeah, go binge watch Kung Fu, because there's philosophies in there that, because I remember watching that when I was a kid, and I was thinking to myself, I've never heard that before. That's pretty deep, and it was in so. But that led you, and the cool thing is that led you to be step by step to become the man that you are today, and that's a big deal. And you've been doing this a while now.
I've been at this for 45 years now. That's when I started martial arts and my healing journey, and studying how to be a healer. It's been about 40 years, and in leadership training, it's been 3 decades plus. And so, yes, I've tracked a record that's solid and pretty awesome. I've been able to serve some of the world's top super uber successful people, celebrities, billionaires, politicians, movers and shakers. But at the end of the day, I still feel like I'm learning, Kevin. Like, I feel like a youth inside myself. And, my Kung Fu teacher taught me years ago. He says, Satyen, it's better to be humble all the time than to be humiliated all at once. So,
and some of those wisdoms that we get, they're simple, but they are, when you start to think about them, they're so deep.
They're timeless. Wisdom is timeless. It's not based on trends. It's not based on what the latest status quo is or fashion trends. Wisdom is timeless and eternal. And I believe as business leaders, we got to learn to tap into that timeless, eternal wisdom especially in this crazy world now. Crazy in this topsy-turvy world of economics, geopolitics, all things that are grabbing our attention every single day. The media continuously bombards us with things which capture our emotional evocation and pull us into the popular emotion. But the top leaders, they don't allow themselves to be pulled into the popular emotion, to be ragtag pulled by the next headline in the news or what they see on the internet. They're calm, composed, they have composition in being, they have a sense of centeredness, and they have clarity, and they're buoyant with what life has. And this is something really, truly worthwhile cultivating, especially in our volatile world right now.
Well, and because you've gone deep into so many modalities and so many ways and working with energy and all of the concepts that are there for all of us to enjoy, why do you think it is that so many of us still poo-poo some of the things that we can utilize to really center ourselves and to make it a better to make us better so that we can serve more?
What it is, from my experience, is that the world hasn't fostered depth. The world has given us rewards for bling and superficiality. But
It's the sound bite, isn't it? It's the I'm going to get so many clicks because of the sound bite that may not even be real, but and it's a superficial stuff. It's nobody goes deep anymore, it seems.
Depth is what our soul yearns for. And when it doesn't get it, the ego seeks superficial substitutes, superficial bullshit, distraction, internet scrolling, porn, alcohol, drugs, distraction, silliness, stupidness, more consumption, doing crazy, wild things. Why? Because the spirit is not happy. And when our spirit and our soul isn't happy, the ego seeks some superficial distraction to try to give us that dopamine hit, but it takes us off who we are. It takes us off our authenticity. And so it's deeply worthwhile cultivating the ability to come home to yourself, to know who you are, to know what you are and what you stand for, and also to build some healthy boundaries around the things that pull you away from who you're not. That way we get to invest in who we are and what we truly stand for.
Many of us, when we talk about boundaries, and I would love for you to talk about this because so many of us do not understand the concept of what developing strong boundaries are, but then they don't. That can be not difficult, but it can be harder than just to go with the flow when you develop boundaries. Talk about boundaries a little bit because I think it's really an important concept.
Boundaries for me is, what are my tolerances? What's my bar? What I'm willing to tolerate? It's times in life to learn to be more tolerant with my children, with my wife, with mistakes and errors with my teammates. It's worthwhile to cultivate more tolerance. But you also got to get clear on what you're not going to tolerate, what you're going to say no to, that you're no longer going to invite and allow in your space. It could be negative people, negative attitudes. It could be stuff from within you. So one of the practices I do with myself, I just did this with the team yesterday. Yesterday, we dove deep into what is our tolerances in our organization. What do we not tolerate? What are we willing to tolerate in ourselves? Because it's worthwhile giving yourself some tolerances so you're not beating yourself up in some hyper-inflated perfection mindset. And it's also valuable to grab your own ego, your smallness, and say, I'm not going to tolerate that in myself. I'm not going to tolerate that in my household. We're not going to tolerate that in our business anymore. So by getting clear on what you tolerate and what you don't tolerate, not from the vehemency of an evoked emotion or angriness, but just from clarity. This is what I'm willing to have, what I'm not willing to have. And when you get clear on that, then you start establishing clear boundaries, and things that are crossing that line or coming close to the line, no, thank you. No, thank you. And those that are within your openness, then please come this way. By having stronger tolerances and clarity around your boundaries, then what happens is your no's become more powerful and your yeses become more powerful.
That's a bumper sticker right there, sir. And by the way, we need to take our halftime break. And Satyen Raja, he's the Sage Warrior. Go to sagewarrior.com and find out more about him.
Warrior Sage.
I'm sorry, Warrior Sage. Did I say Sage Warrior? I meant Warrior Sage. I'm sorry. And when we come back from this break, and it's just 1:10, so we will be right back. But when we come back, I want to tell you what one of my boundaries is, and tell me if you agree with my application of this particular boundary. We'll be right back.
You're listening to Brushwood Media Network, the best in syndicated talk, news, and entertainment shows.
As you go about your daily life, look closer. As you gather with family and friends who love and support you, look closer. There are youth right in your community who don't have the home, warmth, and healing you have. So look closer. Every year across America, a staggering 4.2 million youth are homeless or trafficked. And for 50 years, Covenant House has worked relentlessly to keep them safe and protected. Tonight, 2,000 young people will sleep safely in a Covenant House bed. And tomorrow, they will wake up surrounded by love. They get clean clothes, hot meals, medical care, and a safe place to sleep. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, in sites across America to help them fulfill the great promise of their lives. So look closer at Covenant House. To help or get help, go to covenanthouse.org.
And welcome back to Positive Talk. My name is Kevin McDonald, and we have got a great guest for you today. He is the Warrior Sage. And Satyen Raja. And, I've been a manager for a long time. And I've got my podcast now. I used to be a restaurant manager and district sales manager and all that stuff. I have always said to a new employee, and I said this yesterday, I said, you can tell me anything. I want you to be totally honest with me. If things are not going the way you want them, then let's talk about it and see if we can figure it out. But the one thing that I will not tolerate is if you lie to me. If you lie to me, then we are done, because I can no longer trust that anything that you say to me is true. Am I saying something relevant, or is that threatening, or what do you think?
What you just shared was so powerful, Kevin. That also is a mic drop. Lying is a non-negotiable for me and for you as well.
Yes,
the moment someone is lying out of fear, out of trying to hide something, not wanting to be shamed, not wanting to look bad, for whatever reason, it sets up the downfall and the spiral down. Once the first lie, then the second lie, then the third lie happen, then it's not good. You are actually saying and establishing, look, I want you to know if there's challenges, problems, stuff that's going on, bring it to me. I'm going to listen to you. I'm going to receive it. I'm open. That is a beautiful, true gesture, which then prevents someone lying. So what you expressed as a boundary, as a tolerance, is impeccable. And I think all business leaders, everyone, we should apply this in our home. We should apply what you said in our workplace, because if we do, we're going to start having a workplace of truth, workplace of authenticity, a workplace of vulnerability, and a workplace of potency and power. But without what you said, you might as well flush down the whole organization. And unfortunately, that's what's going on with many companies. There's a lot of BS, a lot of lying, a lot of unreality happening. You establish the reality, you establish the parameters of your tolerances, and you also allowed yourself, you gave an opportunity to be welcoming with the tough stuff. What else could you do? I think that's phenomenal.
Well, thank you, because the thing is, if your people that work with you and for you, technically they work for you, but they really work with you, if they recognize that you're open to talking with them, negotiations, some of the things you can do stuff about, some of the things you can explain better why the company operates this way, and how they can adapt to some of those things. But isn't that how you grow an individual within a company, is to get their buy-in and their understanding of why you're doing what you're doing, so that they can apply it within themselves to get the best thing that they can do.
Absolutely. Offering strict rules never works in today's society. Our
No.
employees are way more sharper, brighter, wiser, attuned, and they have so many possibilities of where they can go in the world. And so it's essential as a leader, the old saying, you have 2 ears, in one mouth. Be a great listener, learn to cultivate what's truly going on. I have meetings with my team, and in our meetings, and these are inner drop-ins, not just the external, what they're doing. I check in with who are you being. I want to know about who you're being. Where's your life at? Now let's get to what you're doing and how you're doing in the company. But I want to know who you are. What are your interests? What are your passions? What moves you? Oh, thanks for asking. I have a wife. I've got 2 beautiful children. Yada yada. You start building affinity and realness, and you start to hear and understand the deeper layers, the wider layers of those that are on your team. And what else can be more wholesome except, like, if you go to India, if I'm working with you, the first thing we want to know is everything about your family before even the business. Oh, where'd you grow up? How many children do you have? What are they into? We like to establish in the old ways of the ways of Camelot, the ways of chivalry, the ways of noble business, was we wanted to not just be transactional, we wanted to be relational. And the fact that here, when you reached out, we had a nice drop in, you built a beautiful relational energy, you wanted to get to know me truly, you've asked very real questions of my life. You're not just interested in extracting, but really getting relational. And us as leaders, that's our next vista, to be masters of relationship. And if we're really good at it, we got to learn to become great. If we're great, we got to learn how to become world class. Because leadership is an evolution, not a destination.
That is so true. And I want to introduce my co-host who has made it back into our world. And this is Rochelle, Satyen Raja, the warrior sage. And Rochelle, welcome back. I hope you're feeling better.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, much better. I'm happy to be here. I was just looking at your website, and I need to find myself on one of those retreats after listening to everything you've said and going through that. So I love that you provide an opportunity and a way for people to have options when it comes to doing things like that. So
thank you, Rochelle.
of course.
And, one of those things, you operate your company holistically. And when I say holistically, I don't mean woo-woo, or you operate in body, mind, spirit, and you operate in all aspects. I'll bet you, sitting here, I can pull the name of a particular, and you get to pick them, a particular person that works with you. And I'll bet you can tell me chapter and verse where they are in their life, where they live, what kind of house they have, how many kids they've got, do they have a dog, do they have a cat, all of those things, because those things are important for humanity and for your acceptance as them as a human being. Is that how you operate?
When I was young, my parents had a restaurant. They were my first business gurus and life gurus, my mom and dad. Entrepreneurs for lifetime. And we had a restaurant. It was a big 300-seat restaurant.
Oh, wow.
Yes, with a full-on discotheque in the middle of the restaurant. So on the weekends, it was a jamming discotheque in Scarborough, Ontario, Canada. And whenever there would be anything off, let's say, for example, a meal with one of the people on the table, a couple or something, and there's something off or too cold or whatever, any mistake, My dad would go and he would approach them and he would say, well, I'm so sorry it didn't meet your standards. And immediately he would replace the meal or get something better. And just immediately, we're going to get another meal out for you right away. You replace it. And at the end, there's no cost, not only for their meal, he would take away the cost of the whole table. He would even charge the whole table. And they were like, what? Other teammates, my mom would go, what are you doing? Like, we're going to lose so much money on this. He goes, the reputation is more important. And then those people were so loyal. They were, what? You blanked our check? It was only that one piece of the fries were cold. You didn't need to do that. It's our honor and our joy. We'd love to see you back here and give you 100% satisfaction. I learned from my father and mother, go over and board. Love your people, love your clients, love your customers so much. Treat them above and beyond the way you might even treat them. Treat them beyond the gold. Make it the diamond rule, not just the golden rule. And then do it from your heart. Be generous. Give. Of course, with the constraint of clarity and right exchange. But when you come from that place of willing to make everything right and beyond, the loyalty is built, long-term loyalty. And that's what we started having. We started building long-term loyalty with every customer. There's the ones that kept us through thick and thin. That's us as a leader being devoted to those we serve, and with our products, services, and our team being devoted to that as well.
You know, I am so glad you said that, because I was a general manager of a large restaurant. It was a Mexican restaurant and several other restaurants. And we had a rule. And the rule is, if somebody is unhappy with their meal, get it out from under them as quickly as possible, and then we'll replace it. And then you tell me, and I'll go there, because I don't know. I can't tell you how many restaurants I've been in where somebody will be unhappy with their meal, and the waiter will say, well, let me get the manager. And so they're sitting here looking at what makes them unhappy, which is their meal. And then the manager comes over and says, what's the problem? And they describe it. Well, we'll get you a free dessert. And that food is still sitting in front of them, and all they're talking about is, I hate this. So get it out, get it the hell out of the way, and let's start all over again. And that sounds like what your dad did. It was a hell of a restaurateur.
You know what? Go above and beyond, and the loyalty of your clients will be with you through thick and thin.
Yeah. Well,
go ahead, Michelle.
Yeah. It reminds me too, their experience is what gave them the trust to come back and to give that service. But it's more than just that. It was building a community. You weren't just creating a space for people, but all of everybody in there was treated as equal as well. And when you provide a space for people like that is really when you start to see the authentic versions of people. And more times than not, you start to find that they are a nice person and they can communicate well. And, you might have a lot of things in common, but I know so many times during even restaurant experiences that I've had with my own family that I see, wow, that was not only wrong on their part, but also on our part as the customers, and the way that we're responding and reacting and treating people just as other humans, no matter what job or whether they're serving us or whether we're serving them. I think that's beautiful. That community that you were able to create was the cherry on top of just their experience.
Beautifully put. My mentor, once again, when I was young, I was waiting tables in between teaching martial arts to make money to get to the school. I was a young fellow, and I'd taken a job at a restaurant, and I made pretty good tips. I was friendly, I was kind, I took care of the people. And then I went to my mentor, and he says, so how well are you doing? He goes, well, this is the tips I'm making. I said, that's good. You want to get it to great? I said, yes, please. He goes, next time you're there at work, subjugate your ego and have your ego be underneath their ego. And then You subjugate your ego and have it underneath their ego. So your ego is serving them. Your ego is not serving you. And it says subjugating your ego and putting it under. I remember this waiter named King, African American. He must have been 40. I remember him so deeply in my heart because he had this natural disposition of subjugating his ego. And even though it was a pizza joint, our family felt like kings and queens. We felt like we were at a Michelin restaurant with the highest service, and we were getting a pizza and a salad. So we have the opportunity to raise who we serve into kings and queens through our own eyes, through our own service. And that's the way I like to roll with our company. Every leader that comes to us, we really aim to see them not only as the leader they are now, but the leader they are for the world. We hold that vision. And when we hold that vision, they grow into it. We grow into it, and we get to see each other in magnificence rather than through the eyes of limitation.
I got to tell you, I love talking about this because it can have such an impact on everybody. And kindness is an important aspect of that. I need to play this real quick for you. I would love your opinion on it on the other side. The strength of staying kind from your friends at Positive Talk Radio. Kindness is not weakness. It takes real strength to stay kind in a world that often rewards anger, ego, and control. Being kind means choosing to act from your values, not your wounds. It means showing grace even when no one's watching. But kindness doesn't mean being passive. It doesn't mean letting people take advantage of your time, your energy, or your peace. You can be kind and still say no. You have a soft heart with firm boundaries. The strongest people I know are the ones who choose compassion without losing themselves. They've been hurt. They've been tested. And still, they choose to love and lead and to lift others anyway. Kindness is not about pleasing everybody. It's about honoring who you are and how you treat others, even when it's hard. So stay kind, stay human, and stay strong. And always remember this, be kind to one another because each other's all we've got. And welcome back to Positive Talk. My name is Kevin McDonald. Rochelle's right there. She's the dancing one. I'm not. and Satyen Raja, the Warrior Sage. Go to warriorsage.com. I have enjoyed this conversation immensely, young man. What did you think of that little presentation?
I think it was beautiful. You nailed it. Kindness is the value, the virtue in our soul that is almost bankrupt if we look around ourselves. And I think what you've expressed there to bring that kindness back is so important. In our Warrior Sage tradition, we have this saying, strong spine, open heart. If you just have an open heart, you'll be a new age floaty, taking advantage of gummy bear. If you're just spine and strong and solid, and your heart's not that open, yes, you might achieve, you might crush it and all that, but you're not going to be fulfilled. You're not going to have enduring relationship. So for us as warrior sages, yes, cultivate the strong spine of integrity, warriorship, clarity, honor, principle, and open the heart, which naturally allows kindness to flow. And kindness is the gift we give each other. We're giving our kindness to theirs, and we're meeting in the kind that we are. Kind also in Hawaii means family. And it means that we're coming together as sacred family. And that's the next leap. If we start seeing as leaders, the world is our family, then more and more kindness will come because the world is our family.
No question about it. Rochelle, your thoughts, please.
Yes. It's going through my head that leadership is not for everybody, and that's okay. There's more of a role than everybody needs to be playing in a community than rather to be the leader. And I would almost fight against it to say that every position you play out in the world is who you are. You are a leader of that and you create that, right? So we all are leaders, just in different ways. And also, I think about all these jobs that I've given and who taught me and how they taught me and what that provided and how that steered my perspective on how I viewed the job, how I felt at that job, how I saw the customers, how I felt about the food or the clothes or the shoes or whatever it was. And it controlled everything about how I showed up and who I was in that. And when we have a leader putting somebody else up into a position to let them know and acknowledge, hey, you are a leader too. I see this in you. To be careful how they're taught and to make it specific based on the difference of that person. I think a lot of times when you learn leadership, you have 150 people that learn all the exact same way, but those people don't learn the same way and they are differentiated. So there's, of course, everybody can take advice and everybody can learn from a broader perspective. But really, when it comes to a leader, you probably understand more than anyone how important it is to have that personal relationship with that person and know them for who they are so that you can provide them the skills to be the leader you see them capable of, right?
Wow, very, very beautifully, powerfully shared, Rochelle. Thank you.
Of course.
It's a big deal, Satyen, are you familiar with a gentleman by the name of Pete Carroll?
No.
Pete Carroll was he's a Hall of Fame coach. He's now the coach of the Las Vegas Raiders, but he was a coach of the Seattle Seahawks for 14 years. And one of the things that he always preached was, my job is to make you ready for the next level. My job is to make you capable of taking my job, because he was confident in his own abilities, and he would raise people up to become the best that they could be. And one of the things that he always said is, how can I support you to become the best you can be? Is that a good strategy?
Wise, that's it. Right there is the warrior sage. Beautiful. Those expressions, those questions, those inquiries are spot on. We use them ourselves, but those are, you nailed it. Those are like a drum roll for those instructions.
And so basically what ended up happening is he got extreme loyalty. And he also, because they knew that if another job opening came and they could get a higher position with another team, he would recommend them if they were ready. And they knew that. So they worked harder. And it became a much better family and a much better team because of that. That's part of the process, isn't it?
Again, going back to my Kung Fu days, like Kung Fu, the series, flashing back to my mentors. When I got my black belt, I felt I trained my butt off for years and years and years. And when I finally achieved it, or black sash, as we called it in Kung Fu, I felt indebted. Even though I put a lot of hard work and energy, the amount of dedication and love my teachers gave me over the years has been profound. I felt indebted. And I said, teachers, master, how can I give back? And they said, really easy. Make 10 more black belts in your lifetime. You don't need to give us anything. You need to make 10 more black belts. And I did. I went on to create over 15, help people foster themselves to become black belts over 1-2 decades with me. And I have more than 15 now black belts from my earlier days that I trained. So that goes on. And when they gave their congratulations, Master Raja, what do we do? How can we serve you back? Make 10 more of you. It might not be in Kung Fu, because it could be whatever it is.
Yeah.
Help others become exemplary humans. And that's what I mean by a black belt.
So before we go, I know we're running out of time, but I have to ask you, if somebody came to you and said, Satyen, I want to change and I've got all the fundamentals down, but I don't know where to start. And you just had a moment to explain to them, what would you say?
The first thing is I look at, and there could be many directions, but the most important dialing in question that I like to offer as a warrior, as a sage, and I challenge the warrior and the sage in them is this: what must you do to live, love, and die complete without regret? What must I do to live, love, and die complete without regret? That's a piercing, penetrative, high stakes question. It's not lightweight. But when you take it in and you really take it in deeply, your soul will come up with an answer. You'll come up with the truth. And then when we align with that truth, magic, power, and our next stage of evolution is assured. When we avoid that, or suppress it, or put all types of distraction on it, and we don't pay attention to it, we spiral down. When we put our attention on what must we do to live, love, and die complete without regret, our life takes off. We start moving into a whole new dimension of freedom, love, and success.
Beautiful. Thank you for that.
There are so many people that haven't even looked at that concept. You know, when you talk to hospice workers, they tell us that one of the biggest regret, or one of the biggest things that people have at the end of their life is the regret of not loving enough, the being kind enough, to take care of each other enough. The money is not the thing. The position and the power isn't the thing. Nobody on their deathbed says, "Yeah, but I got a Rolls Royce. Isn't that cool?" That's not that's not what they're interested at that point. Is their human connection and who they were, and oftentimes they have regret about that they were not the person that they, looking back on it, wish they were. So one of the premises of our program is, don't look back on your life and have regrets. Live your life fully with kindness and love and charity for other people and success. Do you agree with that, sir?
Not only do I agree with it, is there any other way to live?
And not meaningfully.
No. Everything else is a half-life. What you just presented is a way to true life, and a life that's continuously reinvigorating ourselves and taking us to new levels of our evolution. Everything else, we're going to fall asleep and go back into our humdrum mediocrities and complacencies. What you just shared is really the key to everything. Thank you, Kevin.
And you know, we were just talking with a gentleman, and he was a professional athlete, and he made lots of money, and he's got fame and stuff. He had his own challenges too. It wasn't all cupcakes and rainbows. He had a lot of issues that he had to work through, which is all part of life. And that's okay, isn't it? It's how we work to deal with those issues in a positive way, seek help when we need it, and then understand that we can be whoever it is we choose to be. And I love the work that you're doing, because you're teaching that to leaders, and hopefully they're getting the message.
Yeah.
They're getting the message, and there's a wave of this new wave of transcendent leaders that's happening more and more on the planet, and we're part of it. So thank you.
And Michelle, before we go, your last thoughts and anything you'd like to add?
I'm very excited to see this take off even more, to see this community build with everything that you're doing. I hope to be involved and meet you in person someday and go through one of these trainings and experiences. And just thank you for doing this work and putting in the time and dedication and actually caring about people and what we're creating in the world. We need a lot more of that. And thank you, Kevin, for having me here. And I love it, as always. So if we can, I'd love to have you back to have a whole new conversation. I know I always say that, but it's so hard to get it all in an hour.
And I would recommend you meet my wife as well, who co-leads all this with me. And she's a force of feminine leadership.
Okay. Yeah, let's do it.
We would love to have that because, and we got to go. That's a whole nother discussion. We could go, hold down, because I think that 50% of our population we have undervalued, and we do not treat them with the respect and courtesy that they need, that we should, because we're losing out of the talents of these people because we're not taking care of them and we're not uplifting them in a positive way. I know you agree with that.
Absolutely.
And Brishelle, thank you so much for being here. And Satyen Raja, go to thewarriorsage.com. I got to tell you, and not only do you like Kung Fu and David Carradine, you have just been phenomenal today. Thank you so much.
It's been a joy, Kevin, Brishelle. I'm honored to share with you all today, and blessings to all of you.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Our purpose is to provide everyone with a positive, entertaining, and educational experience. I would love your feedback and comments about the show, including possible topics and great guest suggestions. Please email me at kevin@kmmedia.pro. And remember, be kind to one another because each other's all we've got.